What is there? Can't do this. Ages. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Camber F1 channel. My name is Mano. As you all know, I'm joined by Toastman himself, Callum Morton, and Kitty for the first time on this channel, making his debacle debut, if that's what you'd like to call it.
Debacle debut.
I don't know what to call it, man. I really don't know. All right, but I think it sounds fancy, so we'll just roll with it. Now, obviously, we're coming off of what was inevitably a very action-packed yet controversial, title finale. We were gonna have Swinners in the booth with us today because he's a Lewis fan, and I thought it'd be really fun to get both sides of the argument. But he's not here, and I don't think Kitty's a Lewis fan either. Are you?
No.
So this is all Max dominated.
Not necessarily. I'm more on the Bottas caucus, but
you're more Bottas core. Well, Bottas.
And Perez caucus, so I can speak out on Bottas and Perez. So
exactly. We got wingman coverage from Kitty, and then we've got the Max Verstappen enjoyers here talking about this. I'll try to be as unbiased as possible. I hope Callum will as well, although that's very.
I'm a neutral fan. What do you mean? I don't even like that.
Right, sure. So let's get right into it. So we had a couple of talking points we'd like to go across. First of all, I kind of like to add one myself, and that is, what did you guys think of the whole safety car rule breach? Because I think we all understood that there was definitely some rules being bent, namely in letting some of the lap cars pass, but then the ones behind Max to not pass. And I think that confused quite a lot of people. So what would you like to comment on regarding that?
I think I'll let Callum start for this one.
Yeah. I don't. It's so weird, like how he only let a certain amount of cars through. I think he clearly did it just for the racing, just so like everyone got entertainment of the last lap of a battle for the championship. But what Crofty said yesterday on an interview, he said that he would have red flagged, he should have red flagged it. All the lap cars get unlapped, and then it's Lewis Max on fresh tyres 5 laps to the end. That would have been so much more exciting.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the main argument at that time was sort of like thinking, wait, maybe it's just Latifi crashing. By the time you get the car out, it would probably be too late for a red flag. And we weren't really considering bending the rules at the time, but then they went and did that.
Yeah.
And then you start to ask the question of, well, wait, why didn't you just red flag the session then? Like, if you have the power to literally break the rule and sort of let some lap cars go, but some not, and then sort of just give Max I mean, trust me, I enjoyed that. I think we can all agree when we said that was probably the most intense lap of the season ever.
Yeah, it was.
I was on the edge of my seat. I was screaming. So, yeah, but then you got to feel bad for Lewis and his fans especially, and Mercedes as a whole, because like they did not see that coming at all. Like, that was completely uncalled for. And then what happened is obviously Lewis. I think something I was kind of like thinking of when I was watching it over at the time was like, even with like the really dead tires, you could still see that he was able to keep up with Max. Like, I think that says quite a lot about their performance at the end of the season. Like, that was actually quite worrying. Like, if he was able to come back to Max, I mean, I get that he was behind slipstream and all, but like, if he was able to come back under the final lap on dead tires and he was still able to race him right until like the final sector. I wouldn't say it's final sector. I think that end of sector 2, right? He was literally side by side. Yeah, exactly. So if he's able to do that, then it really goes to show that maybe this was how you'd balance it out. So maybe if they did actually start on a red flag, get new fresh starts for everyone, I probably think Lewis would have just pulled away with it. Like,
yeah, I think he would have as well. Because sector 1 and 2 are Mercedes favoured like sectors, so that's probably how he kept up. And obviously, he had like full DRS usage and all of that, so that's probably how he's kept up with Max. But yeah, they should have red flagged it.
Yeah, the thing is, watching it at like 1 a.m. in the morning. I felt I was delusional, but I had to go re-watch it. And from what I saw, the incident was, I mean, they could have reflagged it because the car was not parked in a spot near the marshal post. It wasn't a nearby marshal post, I think, not until, say, turn 1 or so. So the car was parked in quite an odd spot, and they had to get the tractor out and all sorts. So, I mean, it is a pretty ridiculous incident to not reflag. But if they're going to do it for the fans, then that is an understandable way to do it. It's so close to the end. I don't see, I don't see how that would have worked, because only getting the lap cars between Max and Lewis to go through, it just doesn't necessarily make sense, and it is a breach against the FIA's code and conduct. From what I've seen is Mercedes tried to appeal that. They got rejected by the stewards, and if they do a full appeal, which means like they go into a hearing for 2 months and stuff, we could still not see the end of this championship. I mean, it is pretty ridiculous just to have all the celebration and then to just reverse and say, nah, your championship's gone because we messed up. It's our fault, but your championship's gone. That's kind of
exactly.
Unfair
that was exactly what I was thinking, because you've just had all of this podium celebration. You've had the champagne spraying. You've had all these huge graphics. You've had Instagram.
You're going to have the prize giving in a couple of days as well.
Yeah, they got the FIA gala, haven't they? So
just imagine Max is going up to the stage to get his trophy, and all of a sudden some guy in a suit just walks up with a piece of paper and says Lewis is the champion or something. Like, oh man, I'd go banal. Like, obviously I understand.
And Christian Horner would end up going like, no, Michael, no, that is not right.
I think actually that brings me on to another point that I wanted to go over. If the roles were reversed, would we have seen the same? Like, outlash from the community.
It's simple, because the FIA has kind of biased both teams a bit this season. Like, they biased Lewis and they've biased Max. They both, you could argue the same. Like, they've biased Lewis in Britain. My personal opinion is that incident should have required a 10-second stop-go, at least. Because a time penalty doesn't necessarily give the amount of time needed for such an incident of that. Like, 52G is just heavy crash. And for this, Christian Horner's comments was kind of unneeded. Like, you don't throw a wheel up the inside of the cops, but you do. It's happened before. But it's just Max was taking the racing line. Lewis failed to notice that. They came together at a very awkward position, and that was a contact worthy of a 10-second stop-go penalty at the very least. But they gave him a 10-second time penalty instead. And there's this incident at Abu Dhabi where they favoured Max, kind of. So, well, they kind of favoured both teams. They gave them the opportunity to beat each other. But then, I mean, it ended up working in Max's favour because he had the softs on. So, it's not an easy decision, because the FIA kind of have to bias something in some way, but not heavily biased, which they've done this whole season. They need to change that.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't have racing like that. I mean, my suggestion to the FIA is, if they're going to leave Michael Masi out of F1, bring in Scott Elkins. He's the Formula E and new DTM race director. He's done a brilliant job managing Formula E. I've watched that for 2 years now, and he's done brilliant management. There's been no complaints to him ever, because he's just done brilliant. And I think that would be a perfect replacement for Charlie Whiting. Charlie Whiting was a brilliant man. I don't think Michael Masi is a suitable replacement if he's going to continue bending the rules. It's not how it works.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely say that's kind of just echo your thoughts there, to be honest, because it's not just this race either. We've seen numerous races where it's been like favouring towards Mercedes or favouring towards Max, and then you see these kind of similar incidents down the midfield, and they don't get as heavy as a repercussion. I think I don't know who it was.
And then there's also
go on.
Sorry to interrupt. There's also the Vettel incident at Hungary. Like, he got disqualified for having a low fuel load. Like, that was just confusing for us as fans. But then why? You can't just have podium celebrations and take it away like that. And you can't do that with the championship, especially either. So, like, even if there is a protest from Mercedes, it's just kind of unacceptable to do that. Like, it's just unfair in my opinion. If the FIA are going to make a decision and the stewards are going to make a decision on something, it needs to be done during the race, before the race, not after it. Because you could be, like, say, first on the podium. You had Brazil 2019, for example. Lewis Hamilton got a 5-second time penalty after the race. Carlos Sainz didn't get to join in the podium celebrations. So, like, I mean, FIA needs to do something before or in the middle of the race, not after it. Because after, even if it takes so long, they should just postpone the podium celebrations if that's the case. Because
yes, that's a really good shout, actually. Yeah,
I can't just have a driver saying, "Oh yes, you got second place, but you're under investigation. We might disqualify you for this." And it could end up in disqualification. And then you go, "Oh well, that's a trophy gone. That's all my hard work for that weekend gone."
Yeah, exactly. You know? And this point exactly ties into what we're experiencing right now with the championship still being decided in a way. I mean, Max is officially the world champion, but that can still be overturned if whatever's happening in court goes on. And I guess that's what I really don't want to see happening. I'm fine if Max would won the championship. I'm fine if Lewis would have won the championship, because either way they've kind of equally deserved it. I'd say the last 4 races Lewis has really put on a shift to get back into equal contention. And Max, the start of the season, has been doing amazing despite all the setbacks and all the penalties. So I was kind of just prepared either way. The one thing I do not want to see is the championship being decided after the race, because that's just ridiculous. Like, I don't think anyone would want to see that, to be honest. I mean, you're here to see people race, not like penalties being thrown around and things. And see, one thing was Mercedes, when they were protesting, when they were putting these points together, that people were saying they were like sore losers, and like they can't accept the fact that Max has won, and they want Lewis to be their golden boy and stuff like that. But I have a feeling that Red Bull would have done the same probably. And then
Christian Horner and Toto Wolff are both characters that would do that. That's the thing.
Exactly.
And especially the thing is, the thing I find interesting with this debacle is Lewis Hamilton apparently said to Toto Wolff to not protest it, and they did it anyway. And he said it was all like, can't remember what the word he used, but he said like the FIA were kind of biased towards Max, and they were it was being tampered with. Mm-hmm. So like, it's kind of interesting how that works at Mercedes, because I mean, you can't necessarily protest something that it's like I don't think. Just wait, I know. Loop is number 3. There it is.
Right, that's getting cut. Right, we'll keep going.
Continuing. I don't think you can.
Move on to something else.
Yeah. Okay. So I think to summarize everything we kind of just went over, FIA needs to really get their act together, because I know it's a hard job, and trust me, it is a hard job. There are times where I'm like, "Oh, Michael, mate, I feel for you," because you've got 2 people blaring into your ear. You've got people, not just them, but you've also got team principals down the midfield complaining about overtakes and things. And it is a hard job. But then again, you shouldn't be applying for said job if you can't handle it in a stress-free manner. Because these are championships. People are putting tons of money into their cars and their drivers and their sponsors. And you want fair racing, right? Penalties are supposed to make the racing fair, not overturn a championship, right? And ultimately, I just don't want to see race results being determined after a race, because then it kind of just undermines everything that the drivers were standing for in that race. Especially Sainz's 2 ghost podiums, which I like to call it, where he didn't get to celebrate 2 of his podiums at all, right? And that's just a bit penal, to be honest. But yeah.
And I think with regards to radios and stuff as well, it's now been confirmed that FIA and Team Boss radios are not going to be in for next season. So we won't hear the messages from Michael Masi to Toto Wolff to Christian Horner or that stuff. So we may have to see Alan McNish running up to the steward's office to appeal a Lucas de Grassi disqualification this time in F1, though. Some people out there will know what I'm talking about back in Formula E this season.
They've planned to take out the FIA radios.
Apparently so. That's what I read recently. So there won't be any. The drivers won't be teams won't be allowed to communicate with the FIA during the race.
Oh, so it's not like I thought you were talking about like the graphic. So not like not at all.
It's not even just a graphic. It's just the teams aren't allowed to talk to the FIA at all.
That's an interesting
Because
point, actually.
I think what they've said is there's you're not allowed to because it just interferes with the race.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well,
all these ridiculous
Callum, what do you think?
I think the FIA needs a new race director and some new stewards because the whole season they've just been like some races they were biased towards Max, some races they were biased towards Lewis. It's just like they have the rules they need to stick to them, both for the race director and the stewards. Because like some of the penalties, I know they only give out penalties on the accident itself and not the outcome. That's why like they only gave Lewis a 10-second time penalty at Silverstone. But I think they should like redo it in a way kind of thing. So like they need like consistent penalties across whatever happens, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Lewis should have got more than 10 seconds at Silverstone, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I guess that sums up that then. So next on the list, turn 6 lunge. I like to make this short, so maybe
lunge.
Like 4 minutes. Lunge. Well, that's what Callum put it down here. Don't look at me. All right, turn 6 lunge.
It was a lunge.
All right,
lunge.
Quick spoon. That's really nice.
Turn 6 lunge.
So turn 6 lunge. Callum, would you like to tell us what you meant by lunge?
This is talking about the first lap 1 incident into turn 6 when Max goes down the inside of Lewis, gets a clean move done, then he's on track. Lewis cuts across, doesn't give back the position, and in most people's opinions, I haven't seen the telemetry, but Lewis didn't give back enough time, even though I'm pretty sure
on the onboard. Actually, on the onboard, he lifted for.
You could literally look at the track and you could see he's just not giving back the position. He's probably getting like 2-3 tenths in that.
And on the onboard, you could hear. I heard in the headphones. I was like, I heard him lift. He lifted like for half a second and just full powered it again. So he did not lift in sufficient enough time.
This
it's
is what
clear to me
because
you hear the car go flat to the floor. You can hear him lift across the runoff. Full throttle and then lift and then full throttle again, and he's already passed like I don't know 3 like over. He was already 8 tenths away from Verstappen at that point.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just the FIA has been so inconsistent. If the roles were reversed, I'm sure Max would have been told to give that position back. Because
he was told to give the position back
when they were side by side. So like, why can't they go back to being side by side? So clearly Lewis didn't give up as much time as he should have, and it should have definitely been penalised. So
I think if you look at Saudi, for example, where he kind of did the same thing, going across when Max went across the runoff, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you could argue that runoff you can gain much more time, but then you look at that huge runoff at that corner, which Lewis went off of. He's going to gain more time definitely because Max is going that way. He's going that way.
Lewis is going the other way. So.
Yeah, so the bloody like Fast and Furious ending. Like you're literally going in 2 opposite directions. Like
the FIA was really consistent in the F2 races with giving penalties. They were saying, right, you get a penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. And F1 drivers were there to watch that. They were. I know that.
Is it also Michael who does the F2 races as well?
No, that was just the stewards. Right. I don't think it's Michael Masi. I think it might be someone else. I don't have confirmation on that. But the FIA was ruling on that, and then they were ruling on the incidents in the Jeddah race as well. And it's weird because Fernando Alonso cut that corner, gained a lot of time, didn't get any penalty for it. And then Verstappen cut that corner, gained a lot of time, got a penalty for it. And then in Abu Dhabi, Lewis Hamilton cuts this corner, gets a lot more time. Oh no, you didn't cut the track and gain an advantage, mate. You just gained a huge advantage that we don't care about. That's literally probably what was in the FIA's minds at that point. Like,
I'm sure they had their reason at the time, but then I think by the time they realized, okay, Lewis did not give the position back, they kind of went through that dilemma of, okay, we can't tell him to slow down now because we've just said it's okay. But then they went against that at the end of the race when they said that cars cannot overtake the safety car, and then they said they can overtake the safety car.
Yeah.
But yeah, so some of the story it's just FIA being FIA. To be honest, I really hope it changes. They need the new race director. Who were you recommending, Kitty? Again, the
Falcons.
Yeah, exactly. So get someone in that seat who knows how to manage a race with zero bias. Or I was even proposing, is it not possible to have like two race directors? Because then
that could be possible. But I mean, from what I've seen, Scott Elkins, Formula E is more complicated with race direction. Is because they have all the standard F1 stuff, but they also have attack mode to deal with. So improper use of battery, improper overuse of energy. They've got a whole heap of like if you don't declare the tires or if you all that sort of stuff. And then they've also got I'm trying to think what it's called now. They've got full course yellows, which is completely different to F1. So it's kind of like a virtual safety car. So like it's just Scott Elkins has to manage a lot more. He's had no complaints. The drivers respect him, and there's 24 of them instead of 20. There's 4 more drivers, that was from last season. There's 22 drivers now, but still,
I think then that means that he should surely be able to maybe manage an F1 race. It is sort of the same difficulty, if not easier, to manage an F1 race from Formula E race. So so
that's the thing. In that regard, he's managing DTM and Formula E next season. So if they do end up replacing Michael Masi, it would have to be for 2023. So we may have to endure another season of this.
Unless you and Michael Masi, I don't think the fans would like that, to be honest.
No.
Well, yeah. So that sums up that. Right. Next on Callum's list. Okay, FIA controversial decision at start and finish. We kind of went over that already.
Yeah. Minister
Perez, excellent defending.
Mexico's Minister of Defense.
He was by far my driver of the day. I didn't vote for Kimi, I voted for Checo because that defense, the gap.
Weren't you the one who told me to start the vote Kimi for driver of the day?
Yeah, I know. I changed my mind after Kimi retired. We weren't going to get a radio message. But yeah, he closed up a gap of like 7 or 8 seconds from Max to Lewis. Like, that was insane on like 20
honestly
old softs.
I was completely blown away.
Really, really good tyre dig. Sergio does. He's like the best in F1 to do for that, and he could probably hold out on softs for half the race. I'd say, guaranteed, hold out on softs for half a race.
What is unbelievable is the fact that Pirelli have a performance index for their soft tires, and they tell you that the performance after once a soft, the maximum performance until the soft starts stops being effective is up to 15 laps, and then you see obviously Max starts to drop off on pace around like lap 13, 14 of his stint, and then he pits in. Perez is left out for like another good 10 laps or so. And obviously he's going to be much slower. But the fact he was able to come back, defend for a solid lap, right? On sectors 1 and 2, which Callum said were Mercedes' fastest sectors, right? On the DRS straight, came back, closed the inside line, closed the door completely, literally did an amazing switchback. And you have to remember, Lewis is an absolute monster of Mercedes. So the fact he was not able to get past Perez for 1 lap just shows how strong his tyre performance and his ability to defend is. And obviously he was not trying to keep ahead. He was purposely backing him up. And he did that at the best corners as well, which was sector 3. Because he knows that Mercedes weren't at fast at sector 3. So what he did is he just literally just started feathering the brakes and making sure that he made that Red Bull as wide as possible so that Hamilton can pass. And I just thought that was amazing racing. Honestly, you cannot ask for a better performance from Perez like that. So yeah, it was.
I think that will secure his place at Red Bull for a long, long time to come. He's only in his 30s, and he'll be a great support beacon for Verstappen. He can win races. He's proved that. He can defend and help Verstappen out, unlike Albon and Gasly. He's the perfect support beacon that Red Bull wanted. He wasn't performing so well at the start of the year. He got eliminated in Q1 in Bahrain, but here he is now, 3rd in the championship, 4th in the championship, and able to help Verstappen out.
I genuinely think he could have got fourth if he had that same pace at the start of the season. But like you saw with Gasly and Albon, they took a lot of time to adapt to that brand new Red Bull car. So he kind of had the same pace, but he got over it and then he started performing. Yeah. So it is honestly quite amazing.
I guess it'll be interesting to see how Albon performs in that Williams as well next season, because if he can't handle that Red Bull, and that was more adapted to Verstappen's driving style, he might have a better chance with Williams, because the car isn't adapted to someone, nor was Toro Rosso. So, like, he'll have a better opportunity to try and, do some serious damage to Hamilton, Verstappen.
I think going on Albon, it kind of just depends. I think this is his make or break season in Formula One. If he's not able to outperform Latifi,
he should.
Then he should by a mile. Like, if, exactly. Like, I'd say like a good solid 20, 30 points at the very least. So if he doesn't do that, then all the hype that we're saying, Albon's just been really bad in the Red Bull, he's really good in the Toro Rosso, it kind of just goes to waste. So I really hope he's on a multi-year deal, because maybe the first season a new team might not work.
Yeah.
I mean, 2022 will be interesting because we have all these new regulations as well. And the drivers in Abu Dhabi taking the 18-inch tyre test. Like, you've got drivers ranging from Oscar Piastri to Valtteri Bottas to Guan Yu Zhou. So, all these really talented drivers for next season will be competing in F1. Like, when all these drivers first came into the sport, there's always doubts. There's always doubt. There's always going to be, this driver is going to be good. This driver is going to be terrible. Lewis Hamilton was heavily doubted when he came into McLaren in 2007. But what did he do? Came third in his first ever race. Valtteri Bottas was doubted when he moved to Mercedes and proved to be a strong wingman to Lewis. Guan Yu Zhou is going to be doubted. Valtteri Bottas going to Alfa Romeo is going to be doubted. We don't know the performance index of these cars yet until pre-season testing at least, or until the first Bahrain round.
Exactly. I think a lot of people give Lewis quite a lot of hate because he managed to start at the top of the teams when he first joined. But I think what people are failing to understand is that even if he joined at the back of the team, it would have been like a similar-esque like Vettel career where he, managed to perform at his best in one of the worst cars and then made it to the next season. And then I would have said it would have just gone the same from there, to be honest, because he won his championship in his second season, right? So,
2009.
If anything, he would have been promoted in his second season and then gone on to win the championship. So, no matter how you look at it, Lewis was, going to be this great anyway. I think it's just a shame that for the last few years, his car's been so powerful that literally no one can contend with him. But yeah, it's good to see that there's, a fresh challenge. We got the new cars as well, so I really hope that some of the teams that haven't really had a chance to sign this year can shine next year. Aston Martin, Haas, for example. I know Vettel joined Aston Martin expecting like a really good package, and then he didn't get a good package. And he hasn't tried to put the team down, but you can kind of tell in his interviews that he's quite upset that the way the season went. And then you also have...
The thing I noted, I hate to interrupt you again, man, but the thing I noted for 2022, it's the lower you are in the constructors, the more money you get. So Mercedes and Red Bull are going to be paid lower for their new chassis and development and all sorts. And Haas and Williams and Alfa Romeo and Aston Martin, all that sort, they're going to be paid much more. Haas are going to be paid a whole heap of money because they're at the bottom of the constructors.
Exactly. So I hope that generous fund sort of brings them back to the top of the table. It would be quite decent, to be honest. So yeah, I think that's that then. So end of that is Perez deserves to stay in Red Bull. Would you yay or nay?
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously. I think Gasly was kind of... I think that is still...
He was there.
I'd say that's kind of up for discussion for some people, because Gasly's obviously so strong that AlphaTauri... It's like, if Gasly was P4 at qualifying, that's normal, wouldn't you say? Like, if Gasly was P4 or P5, you'd be like, oh yeah, well, it's Gasly. He's meant to be there. I think we sometimes overshadow the fact that the AlphaTauri is a fast car, but it's not as fast as Gasly's making it. Or maybe not, considering Yuki and how he got P4 at the habit. I really don't.
I mean, it was kind of a lucky race for Tsunoda, to be honest. Like, he had all the misfortune with all the top runners, like all the back markers, realistically, both Alfa Romeos, both Williams, all out, which is in turn 4 cars which promoted him 4 places. So if those 4 cars didn't DNF, he likely could have been P8 where he started in that Grand Prix, but they weren't up there. That's the thing. So I'm just trying to work out who was in front of him. It was Verstappen, Hamilton, Perez, Bottas. Ricciardo was behind him.
Lando.
So, I mean, yeah, Lando. So Lando's misfortune as well. So yeah, like there was drivers in that race who had quite a bit of misfortune. So I mean, it was kind of a lucky break for him, and it's probably given him a lot of confidence going into next season. So we'll see how he performs next season. That's kind of his make or break season. He's got to really of outperform Gasly to stay.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's that point then. So Perez deserves to stay at Red Bull. Right. Next on Callum's list is Kimi's last race, and what a bad race it was. Not particularly Kimi's fault, but just the Alfa Romeo just deciding not to live. Literally.
And now I am concerned. I am concerned for Bottas for next season.
I think it was mainly randomly taking the risk to not make a new power unit and giving it to Kimi. But then again, they weren't really fighting for anything, so I don't really know why they'd do that. Obviously, you've had some really strong points from Alfa Romeo this season. You've had a lot of Q3 appearances from Giovinazzi. And you've had a few points scoring as well from, I'd say mostly, right, Williams. They're a great team, right? But you can't deny that some of their points have come just from insane luck. Obviously, Russell got the insane. He got the front row at Spa. But then there was no way he was going to be able to keep that car on that podium for the race, which then got cancelled, which meant he got half points. But half points for him in P2 is like bloody huge, right? That's like, how much was that? That was like 12.5 points. So like that's huge for Williams.
9 points, wasn't it?
It was 9 points.
9, right? Yeah, 9. 9 points is big for Williams. And then considering Latifi, and then Hungary, where all the cars got taken out, and then kind of got done over by the pit stops and things, and then crashed into each other, and huge kerfuffles. And then you had Williams at the very bottom, it was like P9, P8, I think, because Verstappen was unable to catch or something, because he had a crap car.
Had the damage and Ricciardo as well.
Exactly. So then what happened is they managed to get points. I know we're talking about Alfa Romeo. I like to go off tone. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is that without those lucky finishes, Williams should kind of just still be mostly with or behind Alfa Romeo. So yeah, exactly. So I think Bottas could bring the experience to move that team forward, while Guan Yu Zhou can bring the funding. And he's not crap either. He's also he's got talent. He's not as amazing.
I doubt that. To be fair, like he's been in.
He's got race wins, years. Right? He's got
race wins, but he's been in F2 for 3 years. Let's just and he's never won the title. Bobby Schwartzy was the same.
There's drivers that deserve it over him. Callum
Oscar Piastri. Liam Lawson. Jerry Vitt.
Nick de Vries.
Yeah.
Robert Schwartzman, I'd argue as well, deserves it over him. Robert Schwartzman came second.
He's a redemption story.
Rookie and his second season.
Maybe sneak Deruvula in. Oh, that's a bit of a stretch.
No.
But there's definitely be people who deserve his seat. We're supposed to be talking about Kimi. All right, we're getting off topic. Right. I saw a bunch of videos where a lot of the YouTubers like Tomo and Josh Ravel and stuff, they kind of made their own videos on how Kimi was kind of seen as a meme in the modern era, but ultimately people kind of forget all the amazing racing and the overtakes and all the bravado moments in his career when he first joined McLaren and Ferrari and stuff. And I think they're totally right. I mean, you see him now, right? We think of Kimi, we think, oh, the drink, or like him raging over the radio, or him like not speaking to anyone, or the funniest interview answers. But the thing is, that's not like a persona he's putting on. That's just him being him. And therefore, that happens all the time. And so people just see him as a meme. But fans who've been watching, obviously not me, because I'm literally older. I'm literally older than like when his career. I'm literally younger than his career, which is quite funny. But literally, what I'm trying to say is that his racing and his genius and all of his amazing moments that led him to his first world championship is honestly overlooked. So yeah, it's honestly quite sad to see Kimi go. I think, did he join Ferrari at a bad time? Was it 2014?
2014 was when he joined at second, and he joined at first in 2007. Sorry,
2007. I mean, of course, he didn't join it at a bad time. That's when he won the championship. So
yeah, well, Kimi's story is a bit odd because he went Albert 2001, McLaren 2002 to 2006, Ferrari 2007 to 2009. Did a bit of rallying in 2010, NASCAR in 2011, went back to F1 in 2012 with Lotus until 2013. And then went from Ferrari 2014 till 2018, Alfa Romeo from 2019 till now.
Yeah, and you noticed in his Lotus career where he managed to literally cow of a car onto the podium. Yeah. He literally won a race in that, right?
That's to be fair, winning. The Lotus was pretty quick because
It was okay.
2012. It was better.
How would I make it? It was
better in 2012 than it was in 2013.
It was like a slightly watered down like Ferrari, 2021 Ferrari. Like,
Red Bull, sorry, because they had the same power unit. Don't forget, Red Bull used Renault power units in 2012 and 2013.
But I think like the problems within the team and stuff were unable to give Kimi the car he needed. But when he did have that car, he literally put it on the front row. Great qualities. He got the multiple podiums. He got a lot of points, and he even got one win with the Lotus car. So.
I mean, I think it was actually a pretty good move, him moving to Ferrari for that next season, because you look how terrible that looking dildo Lotus car that they had was.
In 2014.
I think
it was actually terrible.
Yeah, I think a good point that some people have made is that maybe Lotus might have been better if Kimi stayed, because then after they didn't really sign any like drivers that really caught your eye.
Didn't they take on Maldonado?
They took on Maldonado. Maldonado started rubbing the wallet through the bin, and then they kind of just lost it at that point. And honestly, their team could have been really good because obviously you had Ferrari did not nail the 2014 regulations at all. Red Bull kind of fell back. What do you call it? McLaren took a fat fallback. And then you have. What else? Yeah, pretty much all the team took a big fall back. The only thing that Mercedes didn't do is that they managed to just stay where they are. And considering how all the grid fell back a wee bit, but they stayed here, is how they managed to win that from there onwards. So what I was kind of thinking was, if maybe he just stuck with Lotus for a while, maybe that team could have gotten much better, because obviously they were getting big sponsors and like Microsoft and stuff like that. Like those aren't easy to come across. So there was obviously potential in the team. But because you didn't have any drivers with a brain behind the wheel, that team kind of just sunk. I'm not to diss Maldonado. I mean, he's got a Grand Prix win. I can't take that away from him, right? But you can't say that was talent, was it? That was just luck. Maybe the home crowd cheering him on. But yeah. So to sum that one up, yeah, it is a real shame that Kimi. I think a point that people make is that if Hamilton never took that contract to Mercedes, he would probably have retired after like 2 championships, maybe even 1, like Kimi. I think it's all just about making the right choice at a time where you don't know if it's the right choice. Just going with the flow and seeing what happens. And you've seen drivers do that. You've seen Daniel go to Renault, and that didn't work out. You've seen Fernando go to McLaren, and that didn't work out. But then you've also seen Sainz go to McLaren and boost that team, and then go to Ferrari and start boosting that team. And you also saw Hamilton bring Mercedes to an absolute monster, excuse the pun, of an F1 team. So, yeah, I think, yeah. So there was a lot of points that said, like, if Kimi took the right contracts at the right time, he could be like a 6-time world champion or something. So, yeah, it really just depended. So, yeah, it's a real shame that Kimi couldn't finish his last race, but he's a great personality. And I'm actually really excited to see what he does next. Although I don't know if he would do anything, because he's kind of...
I think he's, like, probably fully retired from motorsport. He might do, like... I don't know.
He might do, like, some cameos.
Like,
I think
24
he
hours.
might do some cameos. You might see him at some, like, festivals or anything, like motorsport festivals or things like that. Because he still loves cars and racing and stuff. It's just he needs to make time for his family, and F1 is a sport where you don't really have much time to do anything outside of it. So obviously that explains his retirement. So yeah, well,
he's been in there for like almost 20 years.
Exactly. So he spent plenty of time in it, and that's just passion over responsibility, and eventually the responsibility's just kind of gone above. I know this is crazy because I'm literally a teenager talking about responsibility and family life and stuff like that. But yeah, we're gonna ditch that now. Right. Next point on Callum's list. This is actually a big list, mate. Max's win. What will Lewis do? Is his reign over? Callum, would you like to elaborate?
Yeah, I think obviously Lewis has been like so dominant over the last 3 years. And only Nico and Max have now like knocked him off of that. It all depends on next year whether Mercedes have a winning car, because they might like fall off like McLaren or something like that and then be down the order. I don't think they will, but that could happen. And Lewis has probably got to come back with a fighting mentality and be like, I'm going to break this record. I'm going to get my 8th world title. I think he'll retire once he gets 8. So if he gets it this year, he might not be in the grid yet next year, but we'll see, really.
Yeah, I think
what Mercedes could have done is they could have just let Red Bull have the title and just got the extra cash from payout to get a better car for next season.
I'm still not entirely sure if that's legit. I think it's 2 budgets because you've got. I mean, obviously, you've got the midfield teams fighting for these positions solely for a budget, right? Otherwise, they would all just hold off. So I think there is. I don't think it's just merit. I think there is budget that goes into getting higher point positions. But then I think there's an extra budget for the lower teams that gives them a bit of a fighting advantage for next season. I don't think it's necessarily like a reverse budget table, because otherwise you wouldn't be fighting for the positions.
Because then they wouldn't want it, would they?
I think the problem with Red Bull
Mercedes would just not run Bottas then. They'd just leave Hamilton, get like 3rd place, the constructors, maybe even 4th, depending on how much points he gets, and then just get tons of money. So yeah, I might need to double check that.
The problem for Red Bull and other teams is the Mercedes engine is going to be, because the engine freezes in application. So basically, the problem is Red Bull's Honda engine that they're going to be changing into Red Bull powertrains is going to be now not as quick as the Mercedes engine unless they develop it further. They're going to need assistance from Honda.
I think Abu Dhabi showed like a really good thing of what Max could do behind that Red Bull, because they were running practically no downforce on that Red Bull for most of that race, and he was able to keep that planted on track. And you saw his quali lap, and he was able to keep up with the Mercedes even without the tow, because the tow only costed him about a 10th. So, and considering how big aero is changing next season, if Red Bull nailed the aero on the head, they could probably be out of the box strong again. Max could get a 2nd. And just imagine how that would be. So, obviously, you can't predict what's going to happen. But that's just the beauty of these regulation changes. You don't know what's going to happen. Literally, any team could come out fighting for the front, and just like how Mercedes did back in 2014, because no one expected them to be at the front. Like everyone laughed at Hamilton when he moved, and then all of a sudden he was fighting for the World Championship with Nico. So. Yeah, I'd love to see some midfield teams get some spotlight. Obviously, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari. I hope they fight on for like P2 or something. But if you can get some of the midfield teams that have been around for quite a long time, like Aston Martin, they've been around for ages. And then you've got like McLaren. They've not had any success for a while. I mean, they got the 1-2, but that was like a one-off. And then some teams that could actually finally take a fighting edge to the front. That'd be amazing, because then it really gives some more drivers a chance to fight for bigger things, and that promotes the sport as a whole. So I hope that's what they're kind of aiming for with this title. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, Max definitely champion for the ages. People will remember the season. I don't really know though. I don't really know if the final race of the season is something to be reminiscing about, considering how poorly it was conducted. But the season as a whole was definitely amazing. Lewis, is his reign over? I think commentators briefed over it quite well. I feel like the last 4 races, something kind of awoke inside Lewis, as in like, all right, I actually have to try now. I actually have to try to get this championship, because up until then he was like not really sweating. He was like, yeah, we'll get back. And then he realized, oh crap, Max is actually getting away from me. What the hell? We only got like 4 races to go. Then he put on the sweat cap, and then he managed to get back to equal points at the end of the season. So, if anything, I think that's probably like sparked something inside of him. Maybe even make him enjoy F1 even more, because now he's actually having some proper battles instead of just storming off into the front. And obviously, it's great to have some glory like that, but you're not going to have fun racing, are you? So, I mean, it's not racing; you're just driving the car. It's just a test track at that point. So, yeah, I don't think his reign's over. At the maximum, maybe he might get another 8th, but then that's it. I don't really see him going for a 9th after that. Like, obviously,
he's getting on age-wise as well, and what?
Yeah, as well. I mean, you can see as well. Yeah, like you can see as well the performance drop off. I mean, Alonso's not an example; he's still brilliant at 41. But Kimi is an example. Even if he was put in the Ferrari for longer, he just didn't have the pace to win. He got the surprise win at USA in 2018, but in the Ferrari, he just didn't have the pace. Just wasn't there. Vettel was the one winning all the time. Kimi was just not there.
It really just depends on reaction time, because that factor slows down as you grow. And obviously in a sport where reaction times, the way you're changing your gears to sudden catches of the steering wheel. I've got rice lodged in my throat. So yeah, reaction time is really essential, and that kind of just decreases. No, it increases as you get older. So obviously age is a bit of a problem. So like I said, I think Lewis, he's probably going to get 8th, maybe. That's the most he could do. If not, it's over pretty much. But I don't think he's going to be. I don't think he's going to sit back and just enjoy the show from now on. He's still going to try to fight for those titles, and I'm all for it. Right, extended points. Ferrari having Sainz ahead of Leclerc in the championship.
That was kind of luck.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, first of all, kudos to Sainz for just jumping into the Ferrari and literally being on par with Leclerc for the whole season, if not better at some stages. Honestly,
I swear Leclerc didn't get any podiums this season, but
he got Britain.
3.
Did he not get 1? I swear he got 1.
Oh, he got Great Britain.
Yeah, the one in Great Britain where he missed out.
Oh, yeah.
And if he got that one, it'd probably be a lot better.
Yeah. So, but that was kind of a bittersweet podium because he wanted the win. So, but yeah, Leclerc's a class driver. Obviously, we all know how talented he is to have been in that Ferrari seat in the first place. But the fact that Sainz has just come in and started actually matching Leclerc, like not taking like a wee year to get settled in, but he's literally come in similar to Leclerc in 2019. He's just come in and he's just started putting in some amazing performances. Obviously, I think we kind of all just dismissed Leclerc. As a driver, we kind of just felt like, yeah, he's proved himself. It doesn't really matter what he does in that Ferrari. He's deserved to be there. But obviously, you can talk about bad luck. But then you've also got performances like in Abu Dhabi, where he was 10th and he was nowhere near the pace. And he said the medium compound didn't work, but Carlos got it to work, and he was gifted 3rd as a result. So I don't know how much longer you can take those excuses. Like, imagine if Leclerc then gets the Vettel treatment and then just gets sacked. I literally would not believe that, because he's literally meant to be the long-term plan. But I think what's important is that people understand that Sainz, Leclerc had a very unlucky season. Sainz, yeah, kudos for getting 5th, mate. That's honestly amazing, but that's not it's not entirely fair, because Leclerc, he couldn't start Monaco when he was on pole. He's been spun out quite a lot of times. He's had times where the car hasn't worked for him at all. I think Russia,
Hungary.
Yeah, Russia, he was in a really good place to score points, and then the rain threw him off. And then Hungary, he got turned into a bowling pin by Bottas.
It was actually Lance Stroll on that one.
Oh, Stroll, yeah.
It was a 3-car. It was a 3-car collision
Sorry, Bottas fan.
It was a 3-car collision between Stroll, Ricciardo, and Leclerc.
Yeah, so
don't believe my boy. Get out of here.
In that, and then so I think to sum it up, Sainz, great driver, amazing work to have got. Literally, I think it was almost all of Ferrari's podiums, but Leclerc got 1 in the end. So, great job from Sainz, but Leclerc, we haven't seen the last of him yet. Literally, I think he's younger than Sainz anyway, so he's not out of his prime already. He just needs the car, he needs the right tires, he needs the right setup, and he'll be there. So yeah. Now, unless you guys want to add anything else to that, no?
Not really. I think if next year Ferrari have a race-winning car, we could have a three-way battle again between Red Bull, Mercedes, and
That's
Ferrari.
amazing. That'd be
think-
honestly amazing.
I mean, if Aston Martin even have it, some have said, "Oh yes, Aston Martin will be on top next year." That could be interesting as well. Alpine, even with their performance,
It's going to be interesting to see what
It'll be
teams
very, very interesting.
make the most of it. Because like Haas and stuff, they stopped developing their car so early on in this season. And they're just focusing everything on 2022. So hopefully they can.
Imagine one thing I do find funny is imagine if AlphaTauri beat Red Bull in the constructor standing.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I think with Yuki in particular, that's not going to happen. And you've also got Max and Perez.
Yeah,
I think that'd ultimately go down to car performance if that was to ever happen. All right. So I think four-way title battle would be amazing. You've got great drivers all around in all those teams. It's honestly going to be amazing next year. I cannot wait. And you all better stick along for future content. Obviously, our upload schedule's a bit scuffed at the moment, but we're working to get back on it. So yeah. All right. So final point. Bottas consistently down the order in some races, and I'm really surprised to hear that this was typed by the person who runs the Bottas fan club. Right, Kitty, what do you have to say for yourself? Why are you dissing your hero?
I'm not necessarily dissing, but I'm just a bit confused because Bottas is last year he was usually always up on the podium, usually always consistently up there unless DNF'd, but. This year he's been struggling to overtake backmarkers, struggling to overtake those in the midfield. That's my confusion. Like he's been back in Azerbaijan, we were just debating on how bad his chassis was. He was apparently given a worse chassis than Lewis. Swap chassis, and he was able to do a lot better, but he was still just doing the same sometimes.
You want to hear my theory on it? I think. As soon as they announced his departure from Mercedes at the end of the season, obviously he started. I'm not going to say they started shooting his tires and stuff, but I mean I'm going to be 100% honest, right? And I think that he started doing really well in the races, and Mercedes were obviously happy to have these amazing performances. But then they realized that unless something ridiculous happened, throwing Bottas a few places down the order isn't really going to destroy their chances of the constructors' title. So they started experimenting with setups and stuff, so Lewis can win the driver's title because he was behind by quite a lot of points at that time. And then you'll notice that Lewis was consistently behind, but Bottas was putting some amazing performances in. He got the pole at Monza, and then he got the podium at Monza, and then you have I think was it Turkey? Was it Turkey? Yeah. I think it was Turkey. He just dominated that race throughout, and that was really weird considering last year, he was literally doing donuts every lap. So exactly. So honestly, I think they then saw, okay, well, we can't. Bottas is in a really good point, right? If we use him to help Lewis a wee bit, it's not going to destroy our chances of constructors, and he's leaving anyway, so there's no need to get data off for him for next season or anything either. Yeah. So.
I think the thing, what I heard in rumours was Bottas was actually approached by Mercedes for negotiations for another season, another 1-year deal, and he rejected it. And because he wanted a multi-year deal. That's
I don't know. I think Mercedes would
I know they wanted George Russell, but I
definitely think they approached him. I know that for a fact. But
I think Bottas has passed it, let's be honest.
I think no matter what Bottas did, he knew he'd be replaced by Russell eventually.
George outpaced him at Sakir last year with hardly any experience in the car. I know who I'd want in my car for 2022. George, 100% over Valtteri.
And Valtteri's a class driver completely, but when you look at someone who needs to be leading the team in the future, I mean, I'm not ruling out Bottas even coming back to Mercedes, because I've seen that in the past. It's not very common nowadays, but you see it now. You saw Kvyat get dropped from Toro Rosso, and then he came back with Toro Rosso. So it's not rare. It's definitely unheard of for drivers to come back to teams, but I think it could happen. And Bottas is still young. He's 33? I think 34?
He's 31, I think. I'll double check that.
That's even younger, right? He's got plenty of years in his career, 9 if he goes for the Kimi records, right? So he still has a chance to like maybe even get a few more wins, maybe even get a world championship if the cars play right. Maybe not next year, but maybe like in the future. Like we are all still saying that Ricciardo could get a world title, right? But like time's running out for him as well. So why would Bottas not get one? So kind of have to consider it in that kind of level. So yeah. Anything else to add, lads?
The point of Ricciardo, it's funny to actually note they're both same age, 32.
Oh right, sweet. So
And Ricciardo,
kind of a race for both of them to see who gets the title first, I guess.
I'm not going to get a title. I'm saying it right now.
If any, I think
Bottas will retire by 2024. I think it will be gone.
I think it kind of.
Yeah, Callum. No,
you have like you. Right. Okay. I don't like to.
You retire before Bottas retires.
I'm not the CEO of predictions, right? Me and Swinners both said Hamilton would win the title, and we're both wrong. All right, so take my opinion with a pinch of salt.
I said Max would, so clearly I'm better.
Yeah, but you weren't on the video, so your opinion doesn't count. So get out. Just like you didn't join us in for the Forza Horizon 5 challenge.
I did.
I'm crying over that. Out of context joke. Don't worry about it. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that Callum is actually right in an instance. You kind of see when people join F1 that they kind of fit into a niche for certain teams. Some drivers will be like experienced driver like Hulkenberg, who can help like a team get like good points when the moment arises, but nothing much more than that. Although I think Hulkenberg's definitely got some potential. And then you've got Perez, Sergio Perez, drivers who are really good, but like aren't as amazing as the current generation of talent, like Perez, like Ricciardo. Who else? Let's say like Stroll, maybe. Stroll's definitely a mad driver. Like he's really, he can be good, but he's not like Verstappen level, is he?
Yeah.
And then you've got people who can actually contend for the title, like people who are fast from the get go. I'm talking about Charles. I'm talking about Norris. I'm talking about maybe Piastri. Piastri definitely.
Piastri should. George should.
Yeah, Piastri, George, right?
Carlos.
Exactly, Carlos.
Oh,
He's a bit old to be considered new generation talent. He's definitely got a chance to get a championship. He's only 25, I think. So
I think he's like 25, 26.
Yeah, exactly. So he's got time. He's got like 4 years until like start asking if he's gonna get that title ever. So yeah. I think to sum up, I think Bottas was kind of just enjoying his final race with Mercedes. He's definitely a fast guy. You see like Vettel, right? When he joined Aston Martin, how much more he was able to like. Obviously, he had some like stinker performances, but when like the stars aligned, he was able to really put that Aston Martin up in the points. And I think it's going to be the same for Bottas. It's going to be a year where he's gonna hate it because like he's been at the front for so long. It's going to be so weird to be starting at the back and like not on like a grid penalty, but like pure pace, and having to fight with the back markers and all. I think he might enjoy it if he likes racing. If he likes glory, he's not. But I think give it a year. Give it a year. He's on a multi-year contract. By 2023, he's going to have a car that could maybe even fight for podiums, right? I'm not going to say wins because that's a fat stretch to treat Alfa Romeo. They're ninth in the constructors, so I'm going to say podiums, right? And yeah, that is the list. Unless you guys have anything else to add.
What I've got to add on is to the earlier point about Lewis and Max. He's claimed the race was rigged. Multiple UK media sources have reported on this, and they've the team radio from Hamilton as well. After the race had ended, he was like, "This has been manipulated, man."
Oh
and Peter Bonham,
I've heard that.
His engineer was like, "I'm speechless," but like he's claiming it's manipulated. But you can't just like how Christian Horner made that comment on the stewards. Surely Hamilton has to go through the same thing. Like in NASCAR, Kyle Busch made a comment about the R word, which is not going to be used in the recording. But that's NASCAR, and he had to go on to a sensitivity program. This is F1. This is global. And Christian Horner had to go to some sort of program. I'm not sure what it was, for making a comment about the stewards. So if Hamilton's claiming that this is manipulated, then surely he has to do the same, no?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not entirely sure because as we spoke about before, I think Masi's just on a bit of a power freak control for his final race. He just decided to put the two together and see what happens. And obviously, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? If your job's on the line, you know you're going to lose it after this race. Potentially, just do whatever you want. To be honest, and I think people are saying that Masi's kind of like a character in this sport now. That he's going to be, involved in everything. And I don't know. I really don't know. I guess you could say it was rigged if you're like looking at it from like a Lewis point of view, but. At the end of the day, I think it's just FIA just wanted to get racing and go against their own rules, which I didn't really agree with. I'm not at the time. At the time, I was absolutely happy. I was like, but I think looking back at it now, I can't understand where Lewis is coming from. And obviously, when you're in the cockpit, you're gonna be fuming, right? Your emotions are gonna be, exactly, adrenaline and the like. Who cares what? Literally, you're going to express your feelings. You're in the car at that moment. You cross the line. Of course, you're going to say, "Yeah, that's rigged," because that's what happened from your perspective. But then, obviously, you're going to come out the car. You're going to get your PR agent to tell you what to say and what not to say. And then, if anything, I think team radios really show us what the driver's thinking at that moment. Because once they come out, interviews are kind of pointless because they're really just artificial responses. Because.
Unless it's like Danny Rick, they'll just be like, "Yeah, it was a good race."
Yeah, exactly. If you can, I'm not even joking. Go through like 3 interviews of the same driver over the last 3 races, and you'll see that the questions they mostly give the same answer for all of them, right? Because they don't want to accidentally badmouth their team, because then they can't take that back. If they're like, "Oh yeah, I think McLaren really did not help." I mean, McLaren they tried everything. You say that, right? It's literally live. It's on TV. They can scroll back. They can alter your words. And it's got a banger headline to put you under. So, I think, Lewis really voiced his opinions after that one. So for him to then say don't appeal is a bit surprising.
I think it's good sportsmanship, not wanting to show that, no, he did lose on track. Whether it was 100% fair that the way they did it, like I said earlier, they should have red flagged it. Everyone starts on soft tyres, like in Baku, just a sprint race to the end. But I can see why he was annoyed and why Lewis fans are annoyed. I'm personally not too annoyed about it, but I do think they need to, sort it out, because they can't let that happen again. Because now, either in the future, Max's championship, his first championship, will be shrouded by this controversy of, Lewis was going to win it because Lewis was leading by so much, and then the safety car, and then he just got screwed over. Really.
Yeah, exactly.
They need to change it.
I think we'll probably end off on
that point. Yeah.
And I think before we finish off, what I've found is the race uploaded on their Instagram, their top 10 drivers of the season. So I think before we end, we should probably all do that. Our top 10 drivers of the season. So what the racers put, they put Bottas number 10, Ocon number 9.
We'll do this in another
Gasly
video.
number 8.
I think we can just go off the top of our head, right? No reasons, just go off the top of our head.
Just no reasons. So Gasly number 8, 7 Alonso, 6 Russell, 5 Sainz, 4 Leclerc, 3 Norris, 2 Hamilton, and 1 Verstappen. So Mano, you can start.
All right, so let's go. It's actually much harder than it is. Right. I think, obviously, number 1, Verstappen. Number 2, Hamilton. Number 3, Sainz. Number 4, Norris. Number 5, Alonso. Number 6, Vettel. Number 7, Ocon. Number 8, Gio, actually. Number 9, who can go number 9? Why? I'd put Perez much higher, actually, probably 6 or 7, right? But number 8, Perez, because it's a bit too late to change that now. Number 9 would be Mazepin. Number 9 would probably be Russell. Russell's done amazing. And number 10, Latifi, because he decided the championship. Callum?
No, Latifi's trashed. I'll start.
You're just jealous he scored points.
number 10, I'm going to put George Russell. He's a Saturday merchant. He hasn't had many good races. That's why I'm putting him 10th.
Mm-hmm.
9th, I'm going to say probably Ocon, seeing as he's only 7 points behind Fernando in the standings, and he got a race win. Obviously helped by Fernando a lot in Hungary, but Ocon was a beast this season. Then 8th, I'm going to go Alonso, because obviously why not. And 7th, I'm going to go Carlos. 6th, I'm going to go with... Who do I go with? I haven't thought this through. Why are we doing this?
Neither. I just realized how shocked my
We
list.
should just save this for another video, a season review video.
Just speed through.
What number am I on now? So 6, Lando. 5, I'm going to go with Seb.
Yeah.
He got like a couple of podiums and they got taken away from him.
Yeah.
4th, I'm going to put... Yeah, I'm running out here. 4th, I'm going to put...
Bottas.
I don't know who to put now.
Then 2nd, Verstappen. No.
I've put everyone
Bottas,
like one place
Verstappen,
too
2nd
low.
Hamilton, and 1st Mazepin.
I'm going to put... I don't know. Why can't we do this in another video, man?
He just
I'm
doesn't
just
want to
gonna
admit that his favourite
Checo
driver is Nikita
4th, Lewis 3rd, Pierre 2nd, and Max 1st.
I forgot about Gasly. Oh, boy.
Pierre was a beast. He got
No, I
5
forgot
points
about
behind
Gasly.
Daniel. Like, this man carried AlphaTauri.
Holy cow. How have I
Okay,
forgot
so
about
what
Pierre?
I'm going to do, what I've got is I've got 10 George Russell, 9 I'm going to put Science, 8 I'm going to put Hill, 7 I'm going to put Pass, 8th I'm going to put no, not 8th, 6th I'm going to put Gasly, 5th I'm going to put I said Russell. 5th I'm going to put I'm going to put the Clerk. 4th I'm going to put Perez. 3rd I'm going to put Norris. 2nd I'm going to put Hamilton. 1st I'm going to put Verstappen.
Yep. All right. Cool. Well, those are in. Obviously, we're going to make a video after this, probably like a season's prediction video. And we'll probably go over those in more depth because I felt like I just kind of went through all those and completely forgot about Pierre, the absolute slayer Gasly. Like I'm actually so upset. How did I? Oh, mate.
That's disappointing from you.
That is disappointing. But yeah. All right. Well, I think that's gonna end it for today. I have no idea how long I've been sitting here talking, but definitely for quite a while.
A good hour.
So, yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Obviously, like and subscribe if you can. If you've been listening for this long, which would be quite a surprise. But obviously, make sure to like and subscribe and like. That's the same thing. Comment down below.
Notification.
Your opinions on
maybe,
the final race.
Exactly. I might open this podcast up for the next time we do it and let people in our Discord channel listen along live early, so you get the bloopers.
Join the Discord.
Hey, if you want to see my brother walk in every 5 minutes, then join the Discord.
And if you want to hear Speedline ruin the start,
you can find the link in the description. And yes, well, thank you so much for watching, lads. Thank you, Callum, for joining me today. Thank you, Kitty.
Thank you.
And we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
See ya.